All right, good morning, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get us started with some quick housekeeping items. Just a reminder, you have two ways to listen today. You can join with your computer audio, or you can dial in by selecting that option on your toolbar. You can also submit questions for our panel anytime using the Q&A tab on your toolbar. And just a reminder, this session is being recorded, and it will be available for members to access on our LRW website. We do have a code of conduct. We expect everyone to be respectful, and we've never had an issue, but just in case we do, if you experience any of the things that you see here or anything else that is disruptive, please send us an email at webinars@railwaywomen.org. And a huge thank you to our corporate partners. Our corporate partners are what allow us to do things like our mentorship program, our webinar series, our networking events, our professional development. So I'm sure many of you today are here as a member of a corporate partner, so thank you very much. If you're not and your organization is interested, please go ahead and reach out. It is a great avenue. As you'll learn, there's many opportunities, and the mentorship program is the one we're going to be talking about today. So enough from me. I'm going to go ahead and introduce quickly our moderator, Denise Mora. Denise is the chair of our professional development committee, which manages the mentorship program we're going to talk about today, as well as the jobs board that helps promote careers and other professional development avenues. Denise is also the DEI specialist at the Greenbrier Companies, and there she has grown their employee resource group to include 8 ERGs, hosted their first DEI summit, and developed US-wide training materials for education. So Denise, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Tiffany. I would like to introduce our guests, Nicole McKinstry and Kristen Canfield. I appreciate you both joining us here today. Nicole is the Vice President of Sales Operations at the Greenbrier Company, so we work together. Nicole has been an active member of LRW for almost 5 years and currently serves as the LRW Treasurer on their board of directors. And Kristen is the tax program manager for Indurante and Associates. So thank you both for joining us here. I'm not sure how many years you've been an active member of Kristen, so I was hoping you'd be able to share that before we get started. Oh, you're muted.
I've been an active member for 2 years.
Awesome. Awesome. I think I've been an active member for almost 3 years now, so we're right around the same time. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you both again for joining us. We're really excited to have you. Kristen and Nicole are going to share with us a little bit about their mentorship relationship. So if you guys are ready, we can dive right in. I know you guys are going to have the opportunity to share a little bit more about yourselves, but is there anything you wanted to share now before we get started with the questions?
No, I'm good to go.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's dive right in. So first and foremost, how did you two meet and how did you come to develop this relationship?
Thanks, Denise. I'll go ahead and get started. We met, I guess, virtually over Mentor City using the platform from LRW. And then over the course of a couple in-person events, Kristen and I were able to meet in person, which was one of the benefits that we had of developing our relationship. We met I guess it was a year ago, officially at RSI in September of last year. So that's how we got started.
Awesome. Can you guys share a little bit more about your experiences with joining Mentor City, LRW's mentorship program? Just sharing a little bit more about, how you filled out your profiles, how you guys went about evaluating each other's profiles to see if there was like what this match would look like, if it was a good match. I know you mentioned you had the opportunity of actually meeting in person to like get to know each other a little bit more, which was great. So we would love to hear about that. But let's start with your guys' profiles within Mentor City, kind of what you did to fill out your profile and then what you did to look for a good mentor relationship match.
Sure. I went on Mentor City originally looking for somebody at like an executive level. And so one of the nice things about the profiles is that you can look at, what kind of work they do, what section they're at. In the rail industry, we have so many different types. We have engineers and conductors, and I'm in finance with a tax program. And as you see, Nicole's in sales. I wanted to find somebody within the industry that was going to kind of match up a little bit more with my job, but also some of the personal things. Nicole's a mom. I'm hoping to be a mom one day, and I wanted to find a mentor who is going to help me move up, in developing to an executive level position, as well as like that work-life balance, somebody who understood, where I'm at, and somebody who had kind of done had a similar development themselves. So.
Yeah, and as far as my profile as the mentor, I just it was fairly easy to do. The questions that it prompts you obviously are fairly straightforward, but I shared just honestly and what I have done, because that's what I wanted to be able to share with others. I wasn't necessarily focused on my achievements. I was just focused on my experience, because I think, and we'll probably get into this a little bit later, one of the benefits of what Kristen and I have is we have similar, she's where I was probably 10 years ago in her career. And so she has a similar path forward that I have already taken. So that's what I wanted to share, is to hopefully find someone that I could help guide through their career or through their development in whatever area of the railroad industry they are in. So the profile I submitted was fairly generic as far as and broad as far as my experience, just trying to be very open and clear with what I had done over the last 15 years in the industry.
Awesome. As you were looking for someone to mentor, and as you were looking for a mentor, Kristen, did you reach out to others, or was this kind of a match made in heaven, one and done situation?
For me, Nicole was the first one I reached out to, and I just got really lucky.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you. And then I guess as you were, I know that you said you had the unique experience of, meeting in person, which was great for, getting to know one another. But, what you shared a little bit about how you were not just looking for professional, but personal development and that work-life balance. So what were some of the things that you guys did to really get to know one another, to know that this was a right fit, right?
Well, when we met at in person, it was a very busy time, and I think Kristen got a good idea of what my schedule is like, and as well my work schedule as well as my life schedule. I think I dove right into how exhausted I was from traveling. Maybe I was missing a soccer game or something like that, and so I kind of made the first in-person introduction or first meeting more personal, I guess, versus just career-based, because I think that's really the good foundation of the mentor-mentee relationship for us. I think that's one of the things I remember is having traveled and all the things from different time zones, and it was just one of those things that I felt comfortable with Kristen too, just sharing some of those personal items. And so that's how we got started, really, for the foundation of our relationship, was being a little bit more on the personal side versus the professional side. So I don't know, Kristen, if you have any comments on.
I was going to mention, we were in an LRW networking event after this conference, when everybody kind of takes a minute to pause and relax after a very busy day. But I didn't know anybody. It was my first LRW event, and Nicole kind of came up to me, and it was just really, organic how it just happened. And, you meet somebody and you start talking to them, and something just does click. And then we did have an opportunity, like the next day, both of us at the airport, we got to sit for another, few minutes and just kind of talk about what Nicole had done in her, work experience in life, and what I was kind of looking for in a mentor. And it just, again, I got very lucky because, her profile and then just meeting her in person really just, again, that click of, somebody that you have connection with it's very important.
Yeah, and I think to your point, while it happened organically and you guys were lucky to be able to find this match in one try, I think there's something to be said about, having those personal conversations to really get to know one another. And while it's important to obviously talk about your professional goals and like what you're looking to get out of these mentor relationships, it's also good to connect on a personal level to really understand the person that you're developing this relationship with. So it's awesome to hear that you guys had this organic relationship and the opportunity to get to know one another before really diving into your professional goals. Awesome. Okay. Well, our next question here. Is this your only mentor-mentee relationship? So, Kristen, do you have any other mentors? And Nicole, do you have any other mentees that you're in a mentorship with?
I've in the past had mentors. That's why I wanted to take this opportunity that LRW had put out there for us, and just found that, really it's to have an outside person uh, who's not in your building or in your, specifically in your company, to give advice, to have somebody you can go and like just talk to about a situation or even just get kind of inspiration and criticism from is so invaluable. It really does. It really helps, motivate you to go to a different level with what you're doing. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I haven't had any formal mentor relationships for me as a mentor, me as the mentee, over until I met Kristen. But I've had people that I've worked with that have been in a role of me learning from them and learning from a leader. And like Kristen said, all those people have been people that I work with, right? Either in my same department or cross-functionally within Greenbrier. And so I was looking for someone outside of the organization, but within the same industry, someone that I could maybe relate to and understand what they do in their work every day and how they are working in the rail industry, but also someone outside of my building, like Kristen said, somebody outside of my normal work group. Because for me, even this relationship is a two-way street. I learn a lot from Kristen as well, just talking with her, bouncing. She asks me for advice, but then as I'm talking to her, I'm like, oh, maybe I could have positioned that a different way. Talking out loud with someone who wasn't part of the situation or doesn't necessarily know the personalities of the people I'm using as the example. And I think that's really helpful for me as a mentor as well. But I would say that while it's a formal connection using Mentor City platform, we have a very I say informal way of getting together and meeting, and that's just what has worked out well for us in our path here as mentor and mentee.
Yeah, and I think every relationship, I mean, even the ones that are built through Mentor City, similar to yours, I think every mentor relationship is going to look different based on, what the mentee is really looking to get out of the relationship, and then also just, I guess, how the personalities connect. And everyone's schedule is different too. So I think definitely finding what works for the two of you is what's really important at the end of the day. Awesome. I really like what you said about a two-way relationship though, Nicole. I think it's super important, kind of what you touched on about while you're there to help guide and, teach Kristen what you've learned through your experiences, you're also learning as well. So I really like what you said about that. I think that really says something about your relationship and just mentorship in general and how it should be a two-way relationship. Okay, our next question is, do you have goals that help guide the relationship's success and development?
My goal is to be available for Kristen and to be able to share my experiences, good, bad, or ugly, right? I think that there's value in sharing my successes as well as my maybe opportunities where I could have done something different or better, right? And the goal around that for me personally is to be open and honest and transparent about those things that have happened. I've learned from them, and I hope to not I hope to share that learning with someone else like Kristen. And so the main goal for me, like I said, is just to be available and open and honest with her and transparent. I think that there's a lot of discussions, that maybe aren't easy, right? And to be there and be a good listener when I need to be as well, and not just you know uh, give advice all the time, solicited or unsolicited, right? But just also listen to what Kristen needs from me, and what I can do to help her.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things, especially, when you do connect with a mentor, when you do enter into like an agreement with them that they're going to do this, we have to be so respectful of time, but also, like Nicole said, you have to have that openness and that trust on top of the goals. Like, I have very unstructured goals. I want to get to an executive level, but I've done programs before where things like tone and time management, working within a group and collaborating, like that there were real structured goals, and we had targets in place for like what we were going to do. Our mentorship has a little bit, less structure. There are things like, going on a platform such as this and doing a webinar for the first time. That is, was definitely a goal of mine to do, and something that Nicole and I discussed. So I think it's important when you get into a relationship with a mentor that you do have, whether it's a structured goal or an unstructured one, like I want to get to an executive level. What are some things that we should work on? Like it for us, it flows organically. For other people, if you need that structure, you should definitely talk with your mentor and decide what kind of relationship you want and what kind of goal structure you want, how you want to get there.
Awesome. I know you mentioned not having, or that your goals were a little bit more unstructured. When you were first talking about your mentor relationship with Nicole, did you have any specific skill sets that you really wanted to like practice, hone in on, or just get her advice around and guidance on? Like,
I
did you
work
have
in,
anything specific in mind other
yeah,
than, leveling up?
yeah, I work in a very small office. And we've not kind of been out in the industry. And like I said, I met Nicole at my first conference I had attended. So some of the things that I really, saw on the conference floor from Nicole was how she engaged with clients, how she engaged with just anybody at any of the attendees. So some of that networking and communication pieces, and kind of putting yourself out there when you take yourself outside of the office, were some things that I noticed in Nicole at first that were things that were in my mind, goals that I wanted to achieve, and I wanted to learn from someone outside of the office on how to do.
I think it's super cool that you actually got to see Nicole in action too. Like, I think it's one thing to look at someone's profile and see, their skills listed and their experience listed, and it's another to actually go out and go to an event and kind of see those skills put into practice. So I think that's great. And I think for anybody who's on this call or on the webinar who is a member, if you have the opportunity to go to these LRW events and network, I mean, those are great places to practice. Those are great places to get to know other people who could potentially, guide you in building on your professional development skill and other skills.
Right.
Cool. Let's see, what's our next question? So let's go to Nicole. How did you know you were ready to be a mentor?
Well, I will say having the ease and the opportunity with the platform of Mentor City was sort of that the thing that got me over the finish line. Denise, you know me because we worked together, but like I like to share things, and it's hard to just go to an event and just talk about yourself. That's not really what you should be doing, right? You need to listen and have a conversation. And so this was an opportunity for me to put myself out there, and using Mentor City, for people who might be shy or a little introverted, is a really good way to like explain yourself and not feel like you're just gushing about how all the things you've done and all of that. So it's a safe place to do that, if you will. And then, the people that are on Mentor City reaching out to you, they want to be there and they want to know more. So there's that when you're in an in-person meeting or on the phone with someone for the first time, you sort of have to kind of navigate through that. And the Mentor City platform kind of takes that away, and it makes it a lot easier to do. And so that was really it for me. I was like, it was easy to do. It took me, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes to update my profile and to put myself out there. And, and that's really what did it for me. I've been ready to be a mentor for a long time. I just didn't have any way to facilitate it. And again, I wanted to have the experience as a mentor with someone outside of my organization. I know I have lots of opportunities, luckily, within Greenbrier to do that, but I also wanted to share outside. And the platform really was that thing that just clicked for me and made it easy to do.
Awesome. Kristen, how did you prepare as you looked for a mentor? Did you do any kind of self-evaluation? Were you really, I know, again, you talk about your goals being a little bit less structured, but did you do any kind of self-evaluation? Did you set any specific goals for yourself as you were, developing your profile within Mentor City and as you were looking through mentor profiles for yourself?
Yeah, I was in a program a long time ago through another job that it's kind of a mentor program. So I knew that oh gosh, I lost track of the question. I kind of had an idea of how it should work and how you have to self-evaluate to kind of say, okay, like I have this certain set of things that I want to do, because it's all about goal setting and then having somebody that helps you inspire and get there. So yeah, I kind of came from a previous knowledge on how to do that. But I do think that it is, it's so important when you're thinking about doing a mentorship, do it. Like, just try it. Go find a mentor. It won't, there's nothing detrimental to it as long as you are open, and able to, kind of evaluate what you're looking for. You won't connect with every single person you meet. Some people might not even meet, like you might meet them and then you just don't have that right connect, or they don't really have the ability to express to you the things, that they need. Nicole and I just got really lucky. We know how to communicate with each other. Those pieces are in place. So you have to be self-aware and you have to be self-advocating. So, to a mentee, I would say, make sure you know what you're looking for, and be open to what you're going to get. And kind of, if you don't feel comfortable with it, it's okay to find another mentor. Because sometimes I have had a mentor in the past that our styles were completely different. It didn't mean that things that she talked to me about was wrong. We just had two different styles, but there was still pieces of advice or wisdom or experiences that she had that had value to me. But yeah, our mentorship did not last long, but it is a process where you self-advocate and you do have to be very self-aware of what you're looking for. So
yeah, and I'd like to add to that as the mentor. Kristen was the only one that had reached out to me over Mentor City, but I encourage anyone who's thinking about being a mentor or being a mentee that you talk about it with someone, either within this group or within your organization, and just discuss it just like you would any other type of professional development. I think it's important to talk about it, and it makes it a little bit easier. And as the mentor, like Kristen said, you need to be authentic in what you have to offer, and not every fit is a good fit. But if someone's reaching out to you for advice or just to talk something through, you do need to be respectful of that and share what you can. I think that that's one of the things that when you do sign up to be a mentor, you have to understand that it is going to be a relationship that someone is reaching out to you and you have to be the leader in that relationship and help guide and help develop it. And sometimes it won't work out in the long term, it'll be a couple meetings or something or a couple phone calls, but I think that you have to be open-minded about it. And back to the structure, I think I've been part of mentorships that are, we're going to do this for 6 months and then we're going to call it quits, or we have 3 goals and then we're going to move on, right? And so that's one way to structure it. I think for me personally, leaving it open-ended allows for that continued organic growth for both of us over time. And I hope Kristen and I continue, even at some point, maybe we won't be mentor mentee, but we'll still have a really good relationship for the future, professionally and then personally as well. So, at some point there will be an end to the mentor mentee relationship between Kristen and I. She'll be good to go and she won't need anything more from me. That's the mom and me talking. So I think I think that's one of the things as a mentor you have to just be aware of, that at some point it's a that relationship will sort of just come to an end. But that's okay. You can maybe set your mentee off to be a mentor to someone as a second step. So
Yeah, I like how you both really touched on being self-aware as the mentor and as the mentee, really understanding your role in the relationship and whether or not that relationship works based on, your needs and who you are as a person and how you learn or how you teach or how you coach, and just really understanding that and knowing whether or not the 2 people in the relationship, if it's a match. So I really like how you guys both touched on the same thing, just on either side of it. So thank you. Awesome. Okay, so I know you guys talked about what you were looking for. Kristen, you shared what you were looking for as you were developing your profile, Mentor City, why you wanted to pursue a mentor relationship. Nicole, you talked a little bit about how with all your experience and all your knowledge and wisdom, you were ready to kind of share that, and Mentor City helped you do that. I I was wondering if you guys could share a little bit more about what you would tell others for why mentorship is important. So so we heard about what you guys think for yourselves, but how would you share with others? Like why should other people pursue mentorship relationships?
I think mentorship
Especially,
is
oh,
so
sorry.
important.
I
No,
was just
you're
gonna
okay.
add, specifically, I mean, let's talk specifically within LRW and like within the real industry. Like why should other people join, Mentor City? Why should other people pursue mentorship relationships like outside of LRW? Just in that sense. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. I think mentorship is incredibly important. I think it's what I touched on earlier. Getting out of your office, getting out of your space, talking to someone who, has wisdom, has experience, has knowledge. Even outside of, our industry, I think we should always be looking for those relationships with people who inspire and share with us, and recognizing those people as um, resources. They're really important. I mean, like, uh, learning how to just, speak online or give a seminar or go out and just meet in public, just random people. Like, there's so much growth that can be had, not just professionally, but personally as well. I think we should always be seeking out those kind of mentors. LRW offers us this really awesome resource to find those mentors that make it easier than having to just be like, oh, hey, like that's an awkward conversation to go have with somebody. Hey, do you want to like give me part of your day to help me with my development? That's such an awkward, like, I really was so happy to see Mentor City pop up on there to give that to take that block out of that place where you might have trouble asking those questions. The same way LRW just makes it easy for women to network and communicate together. We experience things differently than men do. So I do find that that is another really great thing about having the female connection. Um, and having that availability. Although I will say, I think you should have mentors of any gender, of anything. I think that that's so important too, just so that you have multiple resources. But again, like, we rise together. It's so important to reach out and find those connections outside of your office, within your industry, because it is how we stay current. It's how we stay progressive. And I think it's so important.
Yeah, and I'll add to Kristen's comments, as women in a very male-dominated industry, there may not be an opportunity within your own organization or comfort with you reaching out to someone. And I think having the ability outside of your organization through the LRW and the Mentor City program to connect with someone, I think is invaluable. And whether or not you have career goals or career progression goals, even just having someone to listen to you talk things through, I think is important. The mentor-mentee relationship, I have a lot of experience, and while you may default to someone with lesser experience may matched up with someone who has more experience, it doesn't always have to be that way. And it's beyond networking. It is developing a deeper relationship with someone. And I think that's, people in our organization, people come first. And I think it's part of the personal development that will only help your professional growth when you can branch out outside of your organization. And I think when we look at mentorship historically or traditionally within your organization, sometimes it's seen as a very, like, you need to have a mentor to be able to progress within your career. In this environment with LRW, you have a mentor-mentee relationship, maybe for professional growth, but there's nothing tied to it. I can't give Kristen a raise. I can't give Kristen a promotion because I don't work in her company, but I'm able to help her talk through some of those things where she can go back to her leadership, right? And I think that's this particular mentorship program, connecting people outside of your own business, your own organization, is super important. And for us women in the rail industry, it's hard to network at some of these events because sometimes you're the only female in the room. Maybe you're, talking amongst a bunch of other younger men. It's just, there's a lot of barriers maybe that are making it uncomfortable. And I think this makes it comfortable again. But mentorship is just another word for leadership development, in my opinion. And I think it's one of those things that everyone should be doing in their careers and throughout your career. I don't think that you have to do it only at like, if you're a manager and you want to become a director, it's not just that. I mean, I seek out mentors, and I'm a vice president, right? I'm still looking for that mentor to help me and help me develop into a better leader every day. So I just think it's just beyond networking. I think that's the important piece here, is it's developing that relationship, having a safe place to talk about things, and to be a good listener as the mentor.
I like how both of you kind of put an emphasis on, while it's important to have mentors within the organization you work for, because those people will understand, the business and your role at the company and kind of how to develop your skills or your career in alignment with the organization's goals. But it's also important to find those mentors externally. And I think, just based on kind of what you guys have shared, it almost feels like those are a little bit more important, just because I feel like the mentoring happens more organically. And I think you'll be able to get a little bit more guidance out of people when it is more organic, because then you're not solely focused on, okay, I'm trying to level up in the company. I think you are able to expand your development in the sense that you don't have a sole goal to move up. And I think a lot of people sometimes get lost in that when they're looking for mentors within their organizations. And while that's super important, don't get me wrong, I think it's also too important to recognize that there are other ways that you can grow in your career and grow your skill set.
And I think too, Denise, if you don't mind me jumping in again,
Yeah.
it's about yourself. You have to take care of yourself and be confident in yourself before you can
Absolutely.
be good at your job or in your other personal relationships at home. And if you have that avenue to do that with a mentor, I think that's one way to do that, is it gives you that personal foundation of feeling good about yourself and sharing your ideas. And I think that's really important as individuals, that we have that ability and that opportunity to do that. And I think the outside of the
Absolutely.
organization does promote that, when you have the mentor relationship outside of your organization.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Alrighty. So what, Kristen? No. Yeah, Kristen. Let's go with
I like
Kristen.
answering questions. You're fine.
Kristen, would you care to share 3 words that you would use to describe a quote unquote good mentor? And if you want to elaborate on any of them, feel free to.
Well, I think we touched on the trust and the openness, but also the ability to express your experience and your knowledge. Some people have difficulty sharing, like Nicole, mentioned that, because you do. I mean, a lot of what we're doing is just expressing our experiences, expressing our thoughts, expressing our procedures, our policies, and our operandi. I mean, like, it's very important that, on both sides, that you can verbally share those things. I think that it also, like, working with, in a mentorship, like, it helps teach you those things, because you get those opportunities to express thoughts and feelings and whatnot, without it being in a practical scape where you might be judged or criticized in that. So yeah, openness, trust, and then an ability to be expressive.
Thank you. Nicole, would you care to share 3 words that you would use to describe a good mentee?
Yeah, and I'll be like Kristen, it'll be more than 3 words, but
Sorry.
No.
Never apologize.
I know. It's I think goal oriented is the first descriptor. It doesn't need to be structured like we've talked about so far. But it is okay to be structured. Like, you want to specifically improve your presentation skills, or you want to just be able to you want to become a manager, or you need to learn how to deal with a difficult situation at work. But having some goals, it will provide some guidance and some framework for the relationship to start. And then hopefully, if the connection is right, then it just organically grows from there. And I think that's what has happened with Kristen and I. And I think as a mentor, you want your mentee to be open-minded. They need to be willing to listen. You need to be a good listener, but you also they need to be able to listen to you. And that's, Kristen said the opposite of that. She needs me to be expressive and communicate to her. As the opposite of that, she needs to also listen and dialogue with me, right? And I think that's being open-minded and open to suggestion, open to the back and forth, and not being afraid necessarily to challenge the mentor and ask questions. And what about, and what do you think about this? Or what about this approach or that approach, right? I think that's that open-mindedness that the mentee needs to bring to the relationship. And then I think the most important piece is just being authentic, right? There is, like I said, I can't help Kristen get a promotion at her company, right? But she needs to be authentic with me in that way, and just tell me what she needs to help her feel better about what she's doing every day in her job or her life. And those sometimes are difficult conversations. It's hard to open up. But I think being authentic and then respectful as the mentor, I'll add one for me, that I just need to be respectful of what the mentee needs to share and needs to run by me. And I may or may not have any advice at all, right? There's been a few things that Kristen's thrown my way, and I'm like, well, let's talk through this together, right? Because maybe it's never happened to me specifically. And I think that that's just that authenticity that you need to be, you both need to have that, the mentor and the mentee and the relationship. I think it's really important to be honest and authentic with what you need and what the discussions are around, and have the difficult, not that every discussion has to be difficult, but have the difficult conversations, right? I think that's really important. That's how we get better as people too, when you have those conversations with someone you trust. And then if you have to have it in real life with someone that you don't know very well, then it's just a little bit easier, to get through that. So that was my 100 words.
No, and what I was gonna kind of share is both of you have kind of emphasized that two-way relationship in the words that you use to describe a mentor or a mentee. Having that openness, one, to hear feedback, hear guidance, and listen to somebody who's willing to share what they've experienced and what they have to say, but then also the openness to be challenged, to have questions asked, and then also the preparedness, being prepared with goals, being prepared to answer questions, being, available to each other, for regular check-ins or whatever the case is. So I think that with what both of you had to say, it really emphasizes again that two-way relationship. You're not just going to show up one day and say, all right, I'm ready to be mentored. What do you have to share with me? And vice versa, as a mentor, you're not just going to have somebody show up and say, okay, these are all the specific things I'm ready to learn about. It's kind of some give and take.
Yeah. I just want to touch on one thing you said, Denise, because it is something that is so important. If you do enter a mentor-mentee relationship, especially as the mentee, be respectful of the other person's time. If you're going to have a conversation with them, be prepared. I mean, we've talked about goal setting, and it is very important because it is not up to Nicole to tell me what I need to learn. Like, that's not how our relationship really works. If that's where you struggle, that is something that you should work on with your mentor. You can express that. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Can we talk about some of these things? Let's goal set together. That's totally acceptable. But, I respect Nicole's time like I would anybody else's. I don't expect an immediate response. I do understand she's busy the same way she understands I'm busy. The relationship is not like a personal relationship. In some ways it's very half and half because it is professional too. So make sure you're clear and expressive about what your time constraints are, what theirs are, what your goal is, time-wise too, like what you're trying to do, so that it is productive. I think that's another really important piece to talk about. If you're going into this, make sure that I'm not saying don't do it. Like, if you don't know what to do, you be expressive in that, but be respectful of their time because it's so important. And same thing, advocate for your own. If you can't do something, be expressive.
Denise, I hope you don't mind me jumping in now. We actually have a question in the chat, and I think it's kind of a two-part question. So it'd be interesting to get the perspective from both Nicole and Kristen, and then afterwards, the second part of the question to you. So the question asks, is there a mentor directory for LRW? But I think maybe the first part of that question that we could sort of send over to Nicole and Kristen is to talk about a little bit when you went into Mentor City. What kind of details or information were you cued to kind of give the system that helped you guys to find each other as a match? So, is it specifically just about what kind of a role you have now, or were there other cues or details that you added that kind of helped to make that bond?
Yeah, so the system or the platform walks you through developing a profile as a mentor, and it starts with very basic things, your name, your current title, what company you work for. And then you can, there were some, I'll say, free text fields that you can describe what you've done. And I think that's the key, is describing what you've done in a way that is open and if you're, as a mentor, looking for something specific, you need to say that. But if you're trying to just be cast a wide net, then this is your opportunity as a mentor to just share some of the aspects of what you've done that would maybe you want to share or help others. And as far as finding the match, I'm not sure, maybe Kristen can talk about that, because I put my information out there and then Kristen contacted me. So I don't know how the search function necessarily works, but as far as finding the match, but it was very simple to sign up as a mentor. And I encourage anyone who hasn't done that in LRW, and if you're willing to share that you do that, it's a great way to connect with people.
Yeah, there was, I think, maybe 12, 15 mentor profiles on there when I went on. So I set up my profile, my name, my part of the industry, what I do for my job, but it also had me make a statement about like what my goal was for, finding a mentor. And I remember reading several different profiles of women, again, we talk about that different parts of the industry. I'm not an engineer, so, I wasn't looking for an engineer. I was looking for somebody who was in finance or sales. And I remember Nicole's profile stating really clearly that, she'd had to kind of trailblaze her path within Greenbrier to move up. And that, of course, being a vice president was definitely on the executive level that I was looking for. But I thought the profiles were actually, they're brief, so they're easy to go through. But she had also mentioned being a mom within that profile too. So I think that ability to see just kind of a snippet of, each mentor, I was able to kind of take a hint from her writing style, the things that she expressed, that this was a person that I was wanting to reach out and see if they would be available to me. So yeah, the platform itself is so easy to use. But I would just be really, again, clear and expressive in your goals, in who you are and what you do, both as a mentor and a mentee, so that you can easily find a good match.
Perfect. And I guess the second part of that question, Denise, and we seem to have more questions about this too, is maybe, Tiffany, we could put up the slide if we could share a little bit more about, what is Mentor City? We've talked about a lot about it today. So, what is LRW's mentorship program? And then afterwards, if we can share a link for that too. So I'll try and stick the link into the chat as well.
Yeah, so I think I see the question. It is there a mentor directory for LRW? So within LRW's website, you'll find a mentorship program tab, and there it shares exactly what's here on the slide. Our mentorship program is flexible, self-led. It is through a program or system called Mentor City, where, as Kristen and Nicole have described, you fill out a profile. When you go into the website, you fill out a profile, you kind of fill out whether you're a mentor or your mentee, you fill out your experience, kind of your goals, whether you would fall under the mentor category, if you would fall under the mentee category, or if you're somebody who is looking to mentor and be a mentee, you can definitely do that as well. You aren't limited to any one relationship. You can definitely, based on, your availability, if you would like to develop more than one relationship, you can add that to your profile as well. So the system and the platform is fairly flexible as far as, what you want to add, you can add. What you don't want to add, you don't have to add. It's pretty free. How did you describe it, Nicole? Free form or free text?
Yeah, there's some guided questions, but then there's an opportunity for you to put in your own words how you would describe your leadership growth, or what you need on the mentee side, what you're looking for. And I'll just say too, when Kristen reached out via Mentor City, I was able to look at her profile and review, just like she was able to review me a little bit, kind of understand a little bit more about what she was looking for. And that matched with me, right? I think, it's a good way to sort of talk to people without actually talking to people, and learn a little bit more about what their goals are, right? And it takes that, maybe if it's an awkward conversation for some, it takes that awkwardness out of it, because you can look online and nobody will even know that you're looking.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're in the program, you can fill out your profile, and then once you've completed your profile, you can start within the system itself. That's where our mentor directory would be, essentially the list of people who are active members within LRW who are willing and ready to become mentors. They'll be listed there for you. The platform has a messaging feature to it and goal settings features. It has a notes tab. So, I mean, to the extent that you have the time and space and, you know, your dedication to the platform, that's, I mean, that's how full or incomplete you can finish your profile.
Yeah, and they have the ability to, you know, message over this app, not through the app. You can also set your meetings up through the app and do the scheduling there. You know, Nicole and I just found it because we use, you know, other programs for our own work style. We didn't use them, but they were just as great as like the Zoom call or, emailing with Outlook. So it definitely does have a very well-rounded program for you if you want to use the app for that. But yeah, you send that icebreaker email. I think I sent Nicole, "Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm looking for a mentor. This is why." And then you're just like, okay, it's out there, and you hope you get a good response back, which you're going to. Obviously, these people are out there to help you. But yeah, that awesome opportunity to meet in person really helps. But don't discount the video conferencing. This is also a really great system to communicate in. So
yeah, and
I
I'll
believe.
Oh, go ahead, Nicole.
I was just going to say, I believe too, as a mentor, you can set your availability. Of course, I'm on Pacific time, so I think there's a way for me to say that, and I'm available between 9 and 2 or whatever it was, so that you also find someone that can be available during the times you need them to be available. Although if you find a match and their availability doesn't match yours, you should still reach out and see if there's some flexibility for sure.
Yeah, and I think as you start to review people's profiles as you're looking for a mentor, you can reach out to more than one person until you find somebody who you match up with. It's not limited to any one person. And you can have more than one mentor through the platform as well. So it's a fairly flexible program, and I think that there is a lot of value to just joining and adding information to your profile. And if something doesn't pan out right away, that doesn't mean that it's not going to pan out eventually. So I think it's important to continue to look, and for any LRW members who are interested and have more questions, feel free to reach out. My information, I believe, is on the website, so I'm happy to answer any questions about the platform itself. And I want to make sure that we answer any additional questions if there are any before the time's up here.
I don't see any other questions there for now. So if you want, I can, before I guess sharing our upcoming events before we end this, I just want to thank you guys so much, Nicole, Kristen, for sharing your experience. I think it definitely makes the whole mentorship relationship seem less intimidating. I think you guys made it seem really down to earth, accessible to everybody. So I hope we get more members that go and register as well for Mentor City. And thank you, Denise, for being an excellent moderator today. You did a very good job.
Great job.
Thank you.
So Tiffany, maybe before we let everybody go, if we can just switch this, I can't let anyone leave without sharing our upcoming events. So next week, October 29th and 30th, LRW will be present at the 26th Railroad Environmental Conference. That's in Champaign, Illinois. And then January 3rd to 5th, we will be present at the NRC REMSA conference in Marco Island, Florida. So we hope to see a lot of you there. Thank you very much, everyone, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.